Welcome to the Medical Ancillary Sales Podcast, your number one source for making money in the medical ancillary sector. Mike and Viv bring you the latest information from lab services, pharmacy, diagnostic testing, and so much more. The latest in ancillary services will be right around the corner. Welcoming the hosts of the Medical Ancillary Sales Podcast, here's Mike and Viv.
Hello and welcome to the Medical Ancillary Sales Podcast. I'm your host, Michael Berg, and joined as always by Viv Hudson. And Viv, it's a rainy day here in California. How is it out there in South Carolina?
It's actually pretty sunny, and the ground is looking a little dry, so we could use a little bit of that rain, but it's still nice. It's still good to go swimming. Awesome. So today we've got a special guest. Again, you don't have to talk to just me today, Mike. Aren't you happy about that?
Well, one of these days we're going to introduce someone as just a guest, and then that person should worry about what you actually think of them, because everyone else is a special guest. But yes, we do have, this is a special guest because we have Rebecca on from ThoughtSwift today, and here to talk to us about the electronic health assessment, which is a great tool for physicians. So, Rebecca, thank you for getting on.
Thank you very much for having me. And in case you were wondering, it's 105 degrees in Texas today.
Holy smoke. I'm headed there next week, so save some of the heat for me. I could use some of that. Okay, Rebecca, I know people who are listening to this, I think most are familiar with the electronic health assessment, and some people have had success. Other physicians, clients have not had success. And I'll be honest, a lot of it has come down to billing. And as is with many things in medicine, the trick is in the billing. So I guess what I really wanted to go over with you today, Rebecca, was you guys have a program where you guys can actually assist with or do the billing for the physician practice. So can you kind of give us a rundown? How does that work?
Absolutely. Well, Michael, we have always been open to feedback and meeting a need where it is. And so that's been a huge request of a lot of these practices. They say, well, we just don't have the manpower to learn how to bill something new or deal with denials and EOBs and all of this. And so they say, well, why don't you bill it for us? So we heard that enough times and finally had that come to fruition. So we've contracted with a fantastic third-party billing company that really bills as ThoughtSwift. So really no other complications there. These existing clients and future enrollments now have the opportunity for ThoughtSwift to do the billing for them. And the gentleman that owns the billing company that we utilize is a physician. He was a physician for 18 years. He ran his own practice along with his wife and then got into the billing side of things. And he's really good at what he does. He's very proactive and aggressive when it comes to getting bills paid, because that's how he gets paid. So it works out really, really well. So for anyone who might want to take advantage of this opportunity, either existing clients who might have been experiencing some problems or even new enrollments, there's a really simple addendum to sign to give us permission to do that. And the cost is $5 per assessment, whether that's the EHA, Electronic Health Assessment, which is normally $20, so $25 includes billing, or the annual wellness visit, which is normally at $50, $55 would include billing.
Right. So how receptive are doctors to you doing the billing for them? What's been your experience so far?
Oh, yeah, they've been supremely happy because it really takes all the work off of them. So when we are doing the billing for them, it literally is as simple as handing out the iPad and just taking care of their patient. That's the end of the process. We're able to work every denial. We're able to see any issues. We're able to confirm correct billing and add all the right modifiers and do all that mess, work EOBs, and then this allows us to not charge the end user for any assessments for which they're not paid, because we have full access to that information. They don't even have to communicate with us and give us EOBs anymore. So it takes that whole back end right off the table.
So how do you guys work it? I know in the past you had a guarantee that they do not have to pay for claims, at least in the beginning. They don't have to pay for tests if the claims are unpaid. Does that still hold true?
Yes, absolutely. So there's kind of now two versions of that. If we are not doing the billing for the client, the promise still remains. They will not pay for unpaid claims, but there are some requirements. They do have to let us review EOBs and those denials so we can identify the reason for non-payment, because it usually is a simple billing error, a lack of a modifier, a wrong ICD-10, so on and so forth. We want to be able to identify those and correct them so they don't just keep billing and not getting paid, and then nobody gets paid, and it's silly. So there is that stipulation. They've got to work with us. They've got to let us teach them in order to get those bill credits for that promise if we are not billing for them. Whereas if we're doing the billing for them, we're able to see what's denied. So if a claim is not paid and we're working that denial, that particular assessment won't even be included in their bill.
Right. So that's a huge benefit to physicians, and just knowing that it's being done right the first time must be a huge relief to them too, because how many times do you see that that's the error that is being made in offices, that it's not being billed correctly, and that's why they're not having the success that they would hope from this particular testing? How often does that happen?
Absolutely. That's 90% of the time, truly. It's very rare that we see a denial simply because insurance made a mistake and didn't want to pay it, and there needs to be a little bit of a fight there. That is a very small portion of the time. Most of the time, it truly is an error that just requires a little bit of a learning curve, and people are either sometimes unwilling or unable to stretch thin to actually take the time to work with us, and we understand that. So that's why we are now offering this service.
So can you break down the financial revenue opportunity as it stands for physicians now? Because $5 as a billing fee, I mean, that sounds like nothing compared to the revenue they're going to make. Can you break down how much money could they be making from these assessments?
Sure. So let's break it down for the basics of the EHA, the Electronic Health Assessment. For the G0442 alcohol misuse screening that's included in that assessment program, the G0444 depression screening, and 96103 psychological assessment by computer, those are the backbone of the EHA. Those three codes are worth $64 national payer average for Medicare. Now, it's going to be higher a lot of times depending on your locality. California and New York are going to be higher, and even a lot higher for commercial payers as well. So we like to stick with the safe amount, and we'll just talk about the $64. So just on the backbone of the codes, if you do get the $64 and you're paying $25 for the assessment, that's almost $40 net profit in the physician's pocket for the EHA. That's not including any of the counsel opportunities that are uncovered by our assessment, which are obesity, tobacco cessation, cardiovascular disease risk reduction, and alcohol misuse counsel. Each of those counsels is worth about $25 a pop, and some of them are able to be done multiple times. So they can count on bare minimum making $40 a pop for the EHA, plus those counsels that will be applicable for a huge amount of their patients.
And what about additional benefits? Because I know that they get meaningful use and PQRS? Is that still one of the added benefits to running these assessments?
Absolutely, and in fact, even more so now. PQRS has always included preventative wellness codes, such as the alcohol misuse screening and the depression screening. And it's even now coming a step further into 2017. That is transforming into MIPS and MACRA. And so that combines meaningful use and PQRS standards all into one. And there's now a carrot where the reimbursement rate can be raised by meeting all of those measurements, or it can actually be lowered all the way down to 9% here in the future for not meeting all those standards. So this is a piece of that. MIPS and MACRA, the quality of care accounts for 50% of how these doctors are scored, and that's all having to do with prevention as well. So that's a big part of it, and it still also affects HEDIS scores for commercial payers. So across the board, it's becoming more and more not just a recommendation, but an expectation of insurance payers that doctors are doing preventative wellness.
Well, that's a lot of benefits for physicians from utilizing this solution. And I think just the fact that you said that 90% of physicians were not billing it correctly, if they've actually started using this solution. And if you're a rep out there and you've got an account and they're not being successful, then obviously it sounds like the billing is the major issue. So definitely it gives reps an opportunity to go back in and just revisit those accounts and let them know exactly how they need to be doing it and to bring them a solution to the physician's problems.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And for anybody that wants to take advantage of the billing offer, that is a solution that they can try it. And if they don't like it, they can go back to billing it themselves. New signups may try it themselves for the lower price benefit and then realize that they're not able to do it themselves and go ahead and sign up later. It's very flexible, and that addendum is available through our shared drive. It's going to be on the electronic links page, very easy to get to, that everyone will have access to.
Well, Rebecca, this sounds like a no-brainer. Again, I'm sitting here scratching my head thinking, you have tests that doctors are being encouraged to do. It's covered by commercial. It's covered by federal. They get meaningful use. They get PQRS. They now have someone to bill. They get a better quality of patient care. It doesn't seem like there's any downside to it. So I think the last loose end, which is having difficulty with the billing, that is the one booger in the stew. And that seems to be that you guys solved it here. And there's literally no downside for the doctors. So guys, I would encourage you, if you've sold an account in the past or if you've run into physicians that have maybe tried this, and I know I talked to one last month, a doctor who told me, no, we tried something like that with a different company. It just wasn't a success for our office. Well, those actually may be the perfect targets for you, because you could explain, hey, 90% of physicians are not billing for this properly. Look at all the benefits you get for doing this testing, along with all the financial benefits, and let us do the billing for you. It's literally no muss, no fuss. We take care of everything. And, give it a couple billing cycles and see if you guys are profitable and see if it integrates with your practice. I think you'll like the results. So I don't know. I think that's a solid pitch right there. I would be ticked if a doctor didn't go forward with this. I think that's just crazy. Anyway, all right, I'll get off my soapbox here. Rebecca, thank you for getting on. This was great information.
Thanks for having me. I really appreciate your time.
All right, take care.